stop the time. Because the anxiety is that you must be enslaved to the power of this atomic energy because it will stop the time whenever it wants to. And who has control over atomic energy? Babylon system. It's a vampire. Sucking the blood of the sufferer. Okay? So he says, none of them can stop the time. And then he asks the question, how long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book. He says and there are two ways to read that line. He says one way is to read it as some say, it's just a part of it. It's a kind of cynicism. Let it go. It's just the way that things will go. The other way is to look at it as a statement of faith. Some say it's just a part of it. We've got to fulfill the book, which means that the book is the more dominant thing, and we shouldn't fear the things that are holding us back. You could read it both ways. But won't you help me sing these songs of freedom? Because all I ever had is redemption song. Songs of freedom, songs of redemption. Ernest Smith, who in the 70s was not a Rasta, but actually a kind of Paulian abuser of Rastafarianism, became a Rasta eventually in these Paulian narratives, right? So he had his road to Damascus and became a Rasta. And he was talking about this lyric, and he said he had a brainwave one day. I was talking to him one day at Calabash, in fact. And he said, I was sleeping and I woke up, I had a dream, and I realized what he was saying. So we all gathered around because he was going to explain finally what Bob Marley was saying, which, this was momentous. He says, redemption song. He just remembered that there used to be a book, a hymnal called Redemption Songs. And he said, Bob Marley is saying all I ever had. So he read it as Bob Marley saying, all I used to have is redemption song, but we need to have songs of freedom instead. I think he's right about the reference to the redemption song. But I think what Bob Marley was saying is, won't you help me these songs of freedom, because I'm singing real redemption songs. These are all songs of redemption. Alluding to that book, but saying that this is the new psalmic articulation that I represent and that I'm speaking and that I'm giving to you. But what I want you to look at and what I want you to be at least moved by and impressed by is that this artist, in that short space of time, is able to take us through this wonderful journey of history, to make a statement, to show the connection between the past and the present, and to propose a way towards the future in just a few simple lyrics. Now, we can conclude at least that he was brilliant. But we can also conclude that he was emerging out of a movement in the society that made it possible for him to be articulating things like that. Not only possible, but absolutely necessary. And what I'm arguing is that for all the problems that we obviously see in the context of Jamaican society and so on, something was irrevocably changed in the way in which Jamaicans perceive themselves because of this reggae music. Prior to that period, in the late 60s into the 70s and so on, when you went to school to do history, you didn't do Caribbean history. You didn't do West Indian history. You did the history of Europe. And so when you started to learn history, you heard it on the streets, in the music, in the songs that were being played. And that music began to make the classes a very interesting place to happen. I remember going to school in the 70s, and we would be studying slavery and listening to Burning Spear singing. We would be studying slavery in the classroom, and then we go on the bus, and all you're hearing is, do you remember the days of slavery? This is mind-blowing to you. Do you understand? The reinforcement of that memory into the present was mind-blowing, and that is the dynamic shift that has taken place because of the innovation of reggae music. History, in the artists like culture, Bunny Wailer, I could go in Peter Tosh, 400 years, Judy Moore, black woman, when she tells the history of the black woman and the struggle of the black woman to come into this present moment. In song after song, this is the legacy that this music has given. Even beyond themselves, they're leaving an incredible legacy. That is truly important, and that is truly dynamic and fascinating. At the end of the day, I say the artists are the ones who have this ability to do something of that nature. The artists are the ones who have this ability to do something of that nature. Every time I hear the crack of a whip, my blood runs cold. I remember on the slave ship how they brutalized our very souls. See what has happened in that lyric. Every time I hear today the crack of a whip, my blood today runs cold. I remember. Bob Marley remembered he wasn't on the slave ship. He says, no, I remember on the slave ship because I was there. How they brutalized our very souls. And that understanding, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the key ways in which we understand the power, the impact, and the necessity of this reggae music in our society. I encourage you, don't run away from a music without understanding what it's doing and what it's saying lyrically. Because in it, there are profound truths that will move you and that will touch you. I'm a Christian, but I've never heard as clear an articulation, apart from probably a psalm, when Bob Marley sings, if Jah didn't love I, if Jah didn't love I, would I be alive today? Would I be alive to say, give thanks and praises to the Most High? Give thanks and praise to the Most High. Thank you very much.
We're going to invite anyone in the audience who might have a question. We'll do a brief session of question and answer if there's anybody who wants to.
My question is a part of the lyrics of Bob Marley that I've never quite understood. And it's, I hope I can get it. It's when he speaks of, what do we do with the one who has hurt all mankind?
Yes, that's from One Love.
If you can explain that to me a little bit. It's a little bit confusing to me.
Now, that song, of course, is not, that line is not Bob Marley's line. It was written by Curtis Mayfield, I think it was, right? Is there a place for the hopeless sinner who has hurt all mankind just to save his own soul? Believe me, one love, one heart, let's get together and feel all right, right? And that question is not a happy-go-lucky question. It's a question about whether the acts of evil that people do, right, are going to in any way be punished for the things they have done. But he's asking that question, and yet he's encouraging us to get together. And then he says, one more thing, let's get together to fight this holy Armageddon. Because when the man comes, there'll be no more doom. Have pity on those whose chances grow thinner, because there's no hiding place from the Father of creation. And then he answers that first question. And the question is being asked, he says, so one love, one heart, let's get together and feel all right, because the evil that men do will be judged and treated by God. So in the meantime, let's